The thing is, we all have our limits and sometimes we choose to ignore that limit. But the goal is to hold ourselves accountable and to understand and know that when we set our boundaries, it's not for anyone else to change. Excuse me. Setting your boundaries can be scary, but it's about respecting and honoring yourself. The thing is, we all have our limits and sometimes we choose to ignore that limit. But the goal is to hold ourselves accountable and to understand and know that when we set our boundaries, it's not for anyone else to change. Now, practicing boundaries is not easy at all. And it's completely okay if your boundaries look different per person, whether that includes family, friends, associates, or even a relationship. At the end of the day, they all should respect and honor your boundaries. What are you willing to accept? Is it healthy? If and when you do accept, do you feel safe, secure, and respected? These are the questions that is important to ask yourself when you are setting these boundaries and after you set these boundaries. In my own personal journey with boundaries, it has not been easy at all, and I've accepted things way longer than I should have. Having deep love for someone made me overlook the dishonoring of my boundaries far too many times, which resulted in me having to learn the hard way. Less of my personal experience and more about teaching you what I've learned along the way, because I don't want you to follow the same steps that I did. Honoring your boundaries help you build safety, trust, and respect, not only with yourself, but with others. This helps build a sense of autonomy. Honoring your boundaries also give you a leadway into having healthy relationships. It also helps you protect your emotional, physical, and mental well-being. As mentioned before, the boundaries that you enforce, depending on who it is, it may look different. You might set a boundary with not allowing anyone to speak down on you. Do not confuse this with constructive criticism. Physical boundaries is the one that I can relate to the most. For me, I love my personal space and I don't like when strangers or anyone who I haven't given the green light to hug or to physically touch me in any way possible actually touch me. It's such a big pet peeve of mine. I like to feel people's energy out, you know? When I was a host, I had a guy who was getting checked in for his reservation. This man decided that it was a good idea to walk all the way around the podium to where I was. And he was with his friend who just blindly just tagged along with him, was walking right into my personal space. Now, I'm uncomfortable and at work with two men that is invading my personal space. I was very annoyed, but I did politely ask him to step in front of the podium so that we can get him checked in. In that moment, I was very proud of myself because I stood up for my personal space and not let the thought of being at work overlook that. Another one is financial boundaries. Financial boundaries are very important as well. It's simply just to protect your financial well-being. This is something that I am actively doing. So we've covered a few boundaries, but here are 5 more to add to the list to make it 7. Intellectual, time, material, spiritual, and sexual. It is very important for you to have that what are your boundaries conversation and to see how well that person take into that information that you are giving them based on your boundaries. A few reasons why someone might not respect your boundaries. Unconscious mentality. Now, unconscious mentality really just means that a person is just genuinely unaware of what's going on. An entitled mentality simply just means that the person just feel like because you are in their life that they can do and say and act however it is that they choose to without any precautions. Now, that's where your boundaries come in. A personal struggle is when someone is so caught up in their own personal life issues that they can't see from the other side. Before you decide to not keep this person around, try these things. Communicate clearly, which means to be direct. Set firm limits, which means to let them know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Seek support. Talk to a family or friend who is non-biased. While I wrap this video up, I think it's important to know your boundaries and to set them early on. And if the boundaries are not set from early on and something arises, please set them and set them clearly. It's never too late to set your boundaries. However, do not get boundaries and compromises mixed up. They're two different things. Before I leave, I just want to tell you that you are worthy and deserving of someone respecting and honoring your boundaries. You deserve that. If you're new here, my name is Tatiana, and thank you for joining me on how to honor your boundaries.